Okay, so let's see the next question. So we completed 5 questions so far. Now we'll see what is the next question. So question number 6 is create a new dataset using BizList input dataset and write consultant information. Write consultant information only. Use SBSTR function to filter consultant information. Now in this particular demonstration, we are going to make use of SAS functions that will help us extracting information which is consultant based. So let's first check the input data set. So let me create a library reference to access my input data sets. So I say libname, libref name, and then say this is referring to SQL SAS foundation. PRG2. So this is the RAN library reference. We need to use this dataset BizList. So let me write a proc print to see what kind of data. I say proc print data is equal to Orion dot BizList. Proc print data is equal to Orion dot BizList, and I say run. So this is what I have in my BizList dataset. So if you see, primarily we have two variables, account code and account name. Now in this account code variable, we have values like AEK3, AQI2, ATS1, CBO3, CCI2, CNI2, and so on. Now if you see, in all these account codes, we have a number at the end which represents the type of information. So number 3 represents charity information. This number 2 represents supplier information, and this number 1 represents consultant information. So we need to fetch all those account codes which are ending with 1 and write it in a new variable. Write it in a new variable called as ID. As of now, in this input data set, we have 3 types of information: supplier, charity, and consultant. That's the reason why we have this number, to easily figure it out that this is charity information, this is supplier information, then this is consultant. Once we fetch all the consultant information and write it to the output data set, this number is not needed. So I want to fetch all those account codes which are ending with 1 and write it to my output data set in a new variable called as ID without this number 1. So let's see the code. So I say data consultant info, and then I say set. So data consultant info, and then I say set Orion dot biz underscore list. Then I say if I say find We can use Sebastier function. I can say if Sebastier, in Sebastier I pass the account code, so it is ACCT code, so I pass the account code and then I say length of account code -1, comma 1. This is not needed. So I say if Sebastier account code, comma length of account code, comma 1 is equal to 1, if this is the case, I say ID is equal to Sebastier ID is equal to Sebastier, I say account code, and then length of account code -1, comma 1. And then I say run. Before this I say keep, or let's write all three variables. So we already had account code and name, and we are creating a new variable by the name ID. So clear this output window, clear the log window. Execute this, and it seems it has fetched 13 observations and 3 variables. Let's proc print. So I say proc print data is equal to consultant info and then run. There's a small logical error in this line. While creating ID, I say account code, length of account code -1. This is not needed. Here you say 1 comma length of account code -1. So basically from ATS1 I want to fetch ATS. So here in ID I'm saying Sebastier account code comma 1. So ATS, if you see the position of A is 1, from first position I want to extract 3 characters because the length of account code is 4. So from first position I want to extract 3 characters. So if you just say length of account code -1, that is 4 minus 1, that is 3, then it is going to fetch you 1, 2, 3. Reason I have used length in both the statements because seeing at this particular value, if I write a number 4 here, then that will not work for the next value which is only 3 characters long. Or looking at this value, if I write 3, then it will not work or correctly return the value in the first account code. That's the reason why I have used this dynamic mechanism of calculating the length at runtime, and then from that particular length, extracting the last position here, and then from first to the second last position, extracting all the characters and writing it as ID. So if I execute this once again, If I execute this once again and write this proc print, so this is how I'm getting the values, and now this time the values are written correctly. So as you see, this is ATS, this is CS, this is DSI, this is ESL, this is HT, this is LBSA. So it's writing all my account codes correctly. So this was the requirement. Create a new dataset using BizList input dataset and write consultant information. Only use substr function to filter consultant information. Okay. Now the next question is create a new dataset using product list input dataset, which should have all product name in proper case and length of product name is more than 15 characters. Let's see how to get the solution for this. So I go back to my editor again. And say here, first of all, let me proc print the input data set. So I say proc print data is equal to Orion dot product underscore list. So this is what we have in product underscore list dataset. So we have around 556 observations. So the question was create a new dataset using product underscore list input dataset, which should have all product name in proper case and length of product name is more than 15 characters. So to get the solution for this, this is the code that you need to write. I say data, new product, then I say set run dot product underscore list, then I say product underscore name is equal to, we have a case function called as proc case, which is used to ensure that the first letter of every word is capitalized. For example, if you see this is outdoor space things and things T is not capital. Okay, so we want that in a particular phrase or a statement, every word should have the first letter capital. So I say product underscore name is equal to proc case product underscore name is equal to proc case of product underscore name, and then I say where, or I can say if length of product underscore name, if length of product underscore name is greater than equal to 15, and I say run. As of now, if you see, we are getting 556 observations. Let's see how many observations we are fetching once after adding this criteria. So as you see, now we are getting only 441 observations and 5 variables. So if I proc print, so proc print data is equal to Orion dot new product Orion dot new product, and then I say run. Sorry, new product is in work library, so you just need to say new product. So if you see, these are the 441 observations. And if you see the product name values, so the criteria was write only those product names which are more than 15 characters. If you see, none of these product names, so out of 556 we fetched only 441, meaning there were 115 observations where the product name was less than 15 characters. So if you see, all these product names are more than 15 characters. So this is what you need to use in your code to get the solution for this particular task. So two things: we applied prop case function to ensure that all our product name words have the first letter capital, and then we ensure that only those product names are written which are greater than or equal to 15 characters. So this is the solution for question number 7. Now let's see the next question, that is question number 8, which says write a SAS program to search for a word blue in product variable of cleanup dataset and replace that word with green and write the result in a new dataset. Okay, so we need to search a word called as blue and replace that by green. So to get the solution for this particular task, we are going to use a function called as find, and to replace that, so to search the word we are going to use find, and to replace that word with another word we are going to, so to replace that blue with green we are going to use a function called as tran_wrd. So this is how you need to write your code. Let me clear this output and log window, and I say here data let's say new cleanup. I say set prime dot clean underscore up. Now before this, I would like to see the data present in the data set, so I say proc print data is equal to Orion dot cleanup So this is what we have. So if you see, in product variable we have this word blue that we need to replace by green. So we have around 6 observations, and I see in one observation we have in 2 observations, not in one, in 2 observations we have that word blue. One is here, another is here. We need to replace this by green and write it to the new data set. So I say data new cleanup, that's the name of my output data set, and then I say set Orion dot cleanup and then I say here if find product. So in product variable, search for a value called as blue. So let's say I say here blue, comma, I say I, which is to ensure that when it is searching for this particular word, it is not considering the keys. So this search should be case insensitive. So I say find product, comma blue, comma I greater than equal to 0, meaning if that particular word is found in my string product or in my variable product, if the value is greater than is equal to 0, I say then do if find product, comma blue, comma I greater than equal to 0, then do I say product is equal to tran wrd product is equal to tran wrd, and then I say product, comma, I say uppercase of product oh, I need to use this function here. I say uppercase of product, specify here blue, excuse me, and replace this by green. Okay, let's see. We need to end the do block by writing end. We say proc print data is equal to new clean and drop. Okay, if you see this, I say tran word product. Let's first see if we are able to replace the uppercase occurrences of this particular value. So if you see, earlier this was blue, now it is green. Just say here, product is equal to prop case of product. Yeah. So now if you see, both my occurrences of blue, this one where we had capital B in blue, and then this was a blue with small b, both the occurrences got replaced by green. Earlier it was not happening because first of all, using upcase in this case wasn't giving me the desired output, and when I removed that particular function and specified this blue with capital B, it was replacing only the proper case occurrences with green. It wasn't replacing the blue which was all in lowercase. So what you have to do, you have to ensure that the case is standardized before you use this transword function to search your desired substring and replace that with another value. So what we are doing in this case, using find function, we are searching this product variable for this particular substring blue, and we are ensuring that while searching that particular word, it ignores the case. If it is greater than equal to 0, meaning if that particular word is found, then we are saying then do product is equal to prop case of product, and product is equal to tran wrd product comma blue comma green, where we are passing this variable in which we want to search the occurrence of blue and replace that by green. So this is the solution for question number 8. Let's see the next question. So next question is, a business analyst wants to calculate statistics to summarize and find out maximum quarterly contribution for the year. Use employee underscore donations input data set and write results to a new data set. So let's see. So we need to use employee underscore donations data set and find out the maximum quarterly contribution for the year given by a particular employee. So I say data maximum contribution, then I say set Orion dot employee underscore donations. Then I say run. Before this, I would like to see the data of my input data set. So I just say proc print data is equal to Orion dot employee underscore contributions. Sorry, donations. And then I say run. So this is what I have in my employee underscore donations data set. So if you see, we have employee IDs, and then these are the quarterly donations. So there was some amount that came in quarter 1, there was some amount which came in quarter 2, 3, 4. For all this 124 employees that we have, we have to find out which quarter got the maximum donation. So that's our task. So I say data max contrib, set Orion dot employee underscore donations, and then I say max donation is equal to, we can use this function max, which is a summary statistics function. I say max donate is equal to max of quarter 1 to quarter 4. This is going to give me the maximum donation that came in which particular quarter. So this is going to calculate for all these 4 quarters, which quarter got the maximum donation. I mean, what is the maximum donation? So I say max donate is equal to max of quarter 1 hyphen quarter 4, and then I say keep is equal to employee underscore ID, keep is equal to employee underscore ID space, and then I say quarter 1 to quarter 4 and max donate. So these are the variables that I want to write to my output data set. We need to use keyword keep, not keep is equal to, because we are not writing it at dataset level. So execute this and proc print. So proc print data is equal to max contrib then I say run. Max contrib. I execute this. And this is what I'm getting as my output. So I'm getting employee ID, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, and this is my computed variable max donate. which is containing the maximum donation that came for that particular quarter. For example, if you see, for this particular employee who donated 20 this amount, 20 in quarter 1, 10 in quarter 2, 5 in quarter 3, the maximum contribution or maximum donation is 20. So it is writing 20. Like this, in all these observations, my program is computing which is the maximum donation and writing it to my output data set. Here we use just max function, but one can use max or min. So you can use, instead of max, you can use min, which is going to give you the minimum contribution. Instead of this, you can use mean, that's going to give you the average of contribution. Instead of this, you can use sum, that is going to give you the sum of all the donations that we computed in one of our previous demonstrations. Or I can say nmiss, which is going to give me the missing values in my quarters 1 to 4. Number of missing values in this range quarter 1 to quarter 4. Or I say n, which is going to give me number of non-missing values for this quarter range 1 to 4. So all these are called as summary statistics function in SAS. So we have n, which gives you the number of non-missing values. We have nmiss, that gives you the number of missing values. Nmiss, it seems, works only for numeric variable. So in newer version of SAS, there was one more function introduced called as cmiss, which gives you the missing value of numeric as well as character. Then apart from them, we have this traditional functions like min, that gives you minimum, max, that gives you maximum, mean, that gives you average, sum, that gives you sum, etc. All these functions have a common feature or functionality that they ignore missing values when you do some computation using these functions. So this was the solution for question number 9. Now let's see the next question, that is question number 10, which says create a new dataset which should have all employee IDs incremented by 100 and write results to a new dataset. Use convert dataset as input source. So I say proc print data is equal to run dot convert and then run. Let me see what kind of data I have in my input data set. So if you see, in this data set we have ID, we have gross pay, we have code, mobile and hired. Now let me quickly check the descriptor of these of this data set. I want to know what are the data types of ID, gross pay, code, mobile and hired variables. So I just say proc contains data is equal to proc contains data is equal to orion.convert and then I say run. So execute this and this is what I'm getting as my output. So if you see, let me sequence these variables by writing var num. So if you see, so So I have following variables in my input data set. I have this variable ID, which is character, length is 5. Then I have gross pay, which is again character, length 6. Then I have code, which is numeric, length 8. Then I have mobile, which is character, length 8. Then we have hired, which is character, length 10. Now we are asked to increment all existing IDs by 100. So if you see, so please remember, we have the ID's data type as character, and it seems you will not be able to perform arithmetic operations on your character values. But here we have been asked to increment all ID values with, by 100. Let's say this people of this data set are getting merged with another database which already has these values which are representing current ID values. For example, we already have this ID 36, 48, 52 existing in some other data set, and in future we are going to merge this data set with that other data set, and to avoid possible loss of data, to be on safer side, we'll increment all these ID values by 100. Let's say we have 1 to 100 ID values in the other data set. So if we make this as 136, 148 and 152, there won't be any overwriting when this is merged with the other data set which already has which already has 1 to 100 ID values. So we'll write a data step. So I say data is equal to, I say data, the name of the data set, I say new convert set Orion.convert and I say here ID is equal to ID ID plus 100. So if you see in this case, we are incrementing all existing ID values by 100. Now the question here is whether this increment will succeed or not, because as you saw in proc contents, when I printed the descriptor of this data set, ID's type was shown as character. So here we are attempting to increment a character variable by 100. So let's see if SAS accepts this incrementation and increments all my existing ID values by 100. So I clear this output window. I clear this log window. Execute this. And if I say proc print data is equal to new convert and run, so if you see, all our ID values are incremented by 100 now. So if you see, this was 36 earlier, this was 48, this was 52, now this is 136, 148 and 152. So we incremented all existing IDs by 100. This was the solution for question number 10. Now let's see the next question. Okay, so the next question, question number 11 is, an employee wants to compare the interest for yearly versus quarterly compounding on a $50,000 investment made for 1 year at 6% interest. How much money does the employee accrue in each situation? So we have to compute the interest earned for this investment $50,000 at an interest rate of 6% for 1 year. We have to calculate the yearly mode interest and then quarterly mode interest, and then we have to find out the difference between the two and check where the earning is more. So let me write the code for this. I say data interest calculate, then I say amount or capital is equal to 50,000, rate is equal to 0.06, 6% is 0.06, and then we say yearly is equal to yearly into rate divided by 4. This is going to give me my yearly interest. For quarterly, I say quarterly is equal to, quarterly plus quarterly plus quarterly into capital quarterly plus quarterly into capital quarterly plus capital into rate divided by 4. So this is my one expression and this is my main expression. Yearly is equal to yearly into rate divided by 4 and quarterly plus capital into rate divided by 4. This is the interest calculated for first quarter. The first quarter's interest is retained, added to the capital and reinvested for the second quarter. This is for third quarter and this is for fourth quarter. So this is what we need to write. So this is for 1 year and this is for 4 quarters. Now I say run. Execute this data step. We need to write semicolon everywhere. So let's check the open and close brackets. We need 2 brackets at the end. So whenever you get errors while typing this code, please always refer this log window. I'm purposely making some mistakes so that you understand how to rectify these mistakes and how to debug your code. So these log messages that you see written in your log window are very helpful interpreting your error and quickly rectifying it. So enhance your debugging skills and welcome the errors that come and try to rectify them. So now if you see, I have written one observation and 4 variables to my output data set. Let's quickly cross check. So I say proc print data is equal to calc interest it's interest calc then I say run. Yearly is equal to yearly plus yearly into rate divide by 4. This divide by 4 is not needed for year. You just need to say yearly is equal to, because rates are per annum, so this interest is calculated at the end of year only. So you don't need divide by 4 for this. You just need divide by 4 for the quarterly interest. This you can see yearly is equal to yearly plus yearly into rate. So you calculated the interest and added to the principal amount. So I execute this once again. As you saw earlier, it was writing missing value, but now I'm sure it must have calculated the yearly interest correctly. This we need to say yearly is equal to yearly plus capital into rate. Yeah. Now if I write a proc print, so this expression is quarterly into quarterly plus capital into rate divided by 4. This is the extra variable. We need to remove this. This is what we need to write. Okay. Let's quickly cross check the solution. So this is how you need to write the expression. You need to say for yearly, you need to say amount into rate, and for quarterly, you need to say quarterly plus amount into rate divided by 4. You have to use a sum statement for quarterly because the interest earned in quarter 1 is reinvested in quarter 2, interest earned in quarter 2 is reinvested in 3, third quarter's interest reinvested in 4, and so on. So we say quarterly plus capital into rate divided by 4. Okay. We'll see the output. So now if you see, this is what I was expecting. So this was my investment, this was the rate, this was my interest when I selected the mode as yearly mode of interest, and this was my earning at the end of year 1 when I selected the mode of interest as quarterly. So earning in yearly mode is 3000 and in quarterly mode it is 3068.18. Now this was for 1 year. What if you are asked to compute this interest for next 10 years? Writing this, if you see, we have written one line to compute the interest for the first year, for 1 year. Now if I have to do this for 10 years, I'll add 9 more lines. Similarly, this is for 1 year, that is 4 quarters. If I do this for 10 years, this will be like 10 into 4, that is 40 lines. So you have 50 lines added to your code just like that. This is not a good programming. Having more number of lines in your code is not a good programming because that consumes lots of resources. So in this particular case, we can introduce loops. In this particular case, we can introduce loops and get this task done quickly with the help of a loop statement. So to have this for 10 years, I just need to say do some index variable, say year is equal to 1 to 10. If you remember during our loop discussion, I explained you the syntax where you say do year, that's index variable is equal to 1 to 10. and here I say end. This is a assignment statement that I have used because this was one time calculation. To compute this for 10 years, this should look similar to that of the quarterly interest calculation. So this should be yearly plus capital into rate. For this also I say do quarter is equal to 1 to 40. So compute this for 40 quarters and tell me what is the interest at the end of 40th quarter. And I say here end to end my loop. So if I execute this data step, write this proc print, so if you see, this is my earning at the end of 40th year, at the end of 10th year, and this is my earning at the end of 10th year when I select the interest rate as quarterly mode. So as you see, there is a large difference here in these interests. This is when calculated in yearly mode, this is when calculated in quarterly mode. So you just need to increment this loop every time by 1 to compute this for every year and every quarter. So we can have it for 10 years or we can have it for 20 years. We can have it for 20 years and then, accordingly 80 quarters. So I execute this data step. And this is what you see. Now if you see this year value and the quarter value which is written is one more than the stop value of the loop.